you need to be able to treat different customers differently. I treat you different from her, different from him, different from him than him. That's one-to-one marketing. That's CRM, customer relationship management. That's treating different customers differently. It's customer-centric. Customers are different in two fundamental ways. They're different in terms of what their value is to you as a business. That's, of course, what you're really interested in. You want to know who your most valuable customers are, who have the most potential, and so forth. But they're also different in what they need from you. And that's what the customer is interested in. Different customers need different things. They have different wants, different desires. You, however, are not a mind reader. You cannot know what any individual customer really needs because you can't see that customer's mind. You can only observe the customer's behavior. You look at the customer's behavior, what he tells you, what he does, how he transacts, and from that you infer what the customer needs. And those behaviors drive the value that the customer creates for you. So, customer has needs, he behaves a certain way, behavior drives the value. What if I got the customer to buy more? What if I did something that got the customer to buy? What if I did something that encouraged the customer to change his behavior in the future? And of course, you think about it, that's the definition of marketing. Marketing is all about trying to get customers to do something that they weren't otherwise going to do. What's the outside limit of this customer's lifetime value? What's the maximum potential that that customer has for you? We call that the potential value. Potential value. The net present value of future financial contributions that could be attributed to a customer if through conscious action we change the customer's behavior. Now, if you think about it, if I divide the actual value of a customer by the customer's potential value to me, what do I have? Share of customer. That's what I have. I have share of customer. This is real. You can argue that lifetime value, whether it's a potential lifetime value, those are all airy-fairy statistical things, but you can't deny that every customer actually does have a lifetime value to you. That there is a real asset value to a particular customer. Different customers also have different needs. Lego told me once that 3 little boys might go into a toy store and buy a Lego Star Wars set for 3 totally different reasons. One guy wants to bring the Lego set home, put it together, and he's going to be Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker. He's a role player. Another little boy buys that set, and his pleasure is putting it together. He wants to make sure that every part fits in the right place and it matches us. And you know, he's what they call a constructor. Lego said about 5 to 10% of their young customers are what they call creators. They buy a Lego set, but they wouldn't dream of putting together something that someone else had already put in a diagram. They want to do something totally different. The point of this is, if you just knew which boy was which, think what more things you could sell. To the role player, you could sell hats and costumes and videos and storybooks. To the constructor, you could sell extra diagrams. Here's 15 other things you can make with the same set. You know, come to our website. Let's consider insurance buyers. Let's say you have 3 different buyers who buy a $10 million personal liability policy on the same day, the same basic business terms. These are your 3 Lego players, and they're buying it for 3 different reasons, okay? Why did they say they chose this policy? Well, what they said, investor A, buyer A says she presides over a firm of tax attorneys. She needs to supplement her corporate policy with personal coverage. That's why she wants this $10 million liability policy. Buyer B says something else. He says he inherited the family business, and his dad carried the same policy. Buyer C, you ask him why, he says, well, his wife's peace of mind was the most important thing in his life to him, and it would give her more peace of mind. Okay, so that's what they said. But needs are deeper than product choices. What buyer A is really telling you is she's a rational risk calculator. She can be persuaded with numbers and logic. She's a very rational financial decision maker. Buyer B, what he's saying is he's conservative traditionalist. He can be persuaded when you appeal to history, tradition, why things have done this way. And buyer C, he's feeling responsibility for others. So he's won over by appeals to safety and certainty caring for others. Then we need to track each need for later reference. These are the role players and constructors in insurance. However you classify your customers, don't just classify them by their business type, by the number of people in their firm or whatever. Start trying to classify them by their different needs. And you know what? there's many different ways to assess customer needs. You can be imaginative in this. It'd be great to have a little bit of market research, but there's a lot of market research already available in the insurance industry, classifying different customers by needs. You need a way to tell when a customer comes into your business, what kind of customer is that customer? That's what you really want. You need customer feedback. Do you enjoy horror films? Anybody here? Who enjoys horror films? Raise your hand if you enjoy horror films. Like, oh, come on. Really? No? Okay. The reason I asked this question is OkCupid analyzed 35,000 couples questionnaires, and this question is the single most predictive indicator of relationship longevity in their big data platform. That's the one, if you had to put your finger on one single question with the most predictive power, that's what I would call a golden question. A question you can ask of somebody, and by the way, I don't know what the right answer is. Both in the couple have to like it, both have to dislike it. I don't know what the answer is. And that doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter why. It just is. It's a data. It's a data point. But it's a golden question. A golden question is something where you ask a customer something that's simple for the customer to answer, but reveals a great deal about that customer's need, their use of the product or service, or whatever. So, for instance, we had a vacation time-sharing company as a client. They sold timeshares to two different types of customers. One type of customer would go buy the timeshare and go there every year for 2 weeks to vacation there. A whole separate type of customer would buy that timeshare in order to trade it out and go different places in the network every year. So what was the biggest difference among them? It turns out when you look at the data that the presence of children under the age of 16 or 17 was a major predictor. In fact, if you have children, if you have young children in your family, you're like 8 times as likely to buy that timeshare just to stay there every year, go there every year, as you are to buy it and trade it out. So you coach the salespeople. Listen, one of the questions you need to ask early on, very early in the conversation is, how old are your children? Great. 5, 8, and 9. Well, let me tell you about the value of this as a vacation property. This is a fantastic vacation destination. If they say, our children are all in college, you say, this is a way to explore the world. You can go to the world, and you'll be guessed everywhere. You see the pitch? Another golden question. A yes or no question. In the heyday of the dot-com era, an online pet supplies retailer had a single yes or no question that reliably identified the highest value pet owners when they came to the site initially. People loved answering the question. You know what it was? It was a fact-based yes or no question. Anybody guess? Does your pet sleep with you? Close? No banana? Nope. Last year, did you give your pet a Christmas present? That was the question. Everybody's going to say they love their pet, but some people gift their pets. Okay? Every kind of customer feedback counts. Here's an actual note handed to a Qantas flight attendant several years ago. Dear Captain, my name is Nicola. I'm 8 years old. This is my first flight, but I'm not scared. I like to watch the clouds go by. My mom says the crew is nice. I think your plane is good. Thanks for a nice flight. Don't bleep up the landing. Love, Nicola. This would only be an Australian child, right? We know that. But why did we laugh? What was funny about that? Think about that. What was funny? What tickled your funny bone? It was out of context, right? It was completely out of context. Beautiful little note from a lovely little tiny 8-year-old, and then the F-bomb. So, wow. Whoa. and it makes you laugh. Context was violated. Human beings, we are all creatures of context. Context allows everyone to read lengthy strings of scrambled words perfectly well. And context is also how we strengthen and deepen our relationships with others. Okay? By developing a stronger and stronger context in a relationship, you can strengthen your relationship with your customers. I think you should think of cultivating a learning relationship, a relationship that gets stronger and stronger over time as the context gets better and better. Customer tells you what he wants, how he wants it. Save me time, let's say. Okay? Based on what the customer says, you change some aspect of your behavior or the offer or the product or service, whatever. You make a change based on what the customer tells you that he wants. You tailor your product. And now, here's the thing. The more effort the customer invests, the greater their stake is in making the relationship work. Why? Because to go someplace else, they're going to have to reteach your competitor what they've already taught you. You know, in effect, you're not buying this customer's loyalty, you're selling it to him. You're making it more convenient for him to stay loyal than to go somewhere else because you've adapted to him. You've helped him, you're co-authoring this relationship. You're co-creating it. And he's just as much invested, if not more, as you are. That's the power of relationship selling. This requires customer-driven innovation. Customer-driven innovation. Think about it. For a product-centric company, what we're trying to do is find customers for products. For a customer-centric company, we're trying to find products for customers. The more we know about our different customers, the more types of products and services we can find for them. But it requires customer-driven innovation. So, we're talking about increasing my share of customer with a customer. What do I do to do that? Well, first, obviously, additional sales over time. Higher persistence, subscriptions, client retention, whatever. But also, other products and services, add-ons, improvements, upgrades, cross-sales, evaluations, benchmarking, all that stuff. Informational tracking, benchmarks, reports, best practices. And for consumer customers, we're talking about their family members, their friends, their colleagues. For business customers, we're talking about different divisions, affiliated companies, partners, and colleagues. All these are ways to find more products for your customer on a share of customer basis. You look at a particular customer, you ask yourself questions about these, and you come up with more and more products. And the more products and services you find for that customer, the greater your share of that customer's business is, and the deeper your context of relationship is, and the more loyal that customer is likely to be, because it's in his own interest to remain loyal. Another predictable trend, quality is subjective, and that increases the importance of social proof. One person's quality is based on what his friends and colleagues think is high quality. Okay, that's social proof. I think you can describe a good customer experience in one word. It's frictionless. It's frictionless. Why do I say that? Well, friction is what reduces loyalty and cross-selling. There's a lot of research out there already that says customer loyalty is not very well correlated with high customer satisfaction or a superior customer experience. It's customer disloyalty that is highly correlated with a bad customer experience. Okay? So customers, they just want their problem solved quickly, completely, conveniently, and your job is, the secret to customer loyalty is creating a frictionless experience. You want to remove the obstacles for the customer enjoying your experience. All right. A truly frictionless customer experience has 4 qualities. It's reliable, relevant, valuable, and trustable. You want to design a truly frictionless customer experience. The first is reliability. The product has to work as advertised. Quality on a par with a competitive set. Response time to problems and inquiries is prompt, and privacy protected and data is secure. These aren't difficult qualities here. This is what you might think of as, I would call this product competence. Is your product competent to meet the customer's need? You know, does it have flaws? Does it have problems? If you have product problems in your service or product, fix them first in order to eliminate friction in the customer's experience. Second quality is relevant. Different customers are treated differently, and every customer appropriately. Analytics are used to differentiate customers by their needs, not just by their spending, and addressable interactive channels generate increased customer insight with golden questions or other interactions. If reliability is product competence, relevance, that's customer competence. Are you competent to know how this customer is different from that customer and treat them accordingly? The third quality is value. Value. Good service delivered at a fair price. Doesn't have to be the least expensive, but on a par with a competitive set. Value proposition should be obvious. No hidden fees, costs, unanticipated charges, or pricing tricks. Nothing fishy going on. And finally, trustable. Proactively watching out for each customer's interest, even when it costs money to do so. Admitting mistakes, taking responsibility for problems, communicating frankly with customers, and never having one story for the company while another is told to the customer. These are the qualities of these 4 qualities, okay? Reliable, relevant, valuable, and trustable. So trust has always been important to customers, but you know what? Moore's Law has a corollary. Where we started, every 20 years, computers get 1,000 times more powerful. The corollary to Moore's Law is sometimes known as Zuckerberg's Law. Every 20 years, we interact 1,000 times more with others. You think about your life today in 2015. Think about your life compared to this in 1995, 20 years ago, when many of you didn't carry a cell phone. You probably didn't have broadband in the home. There was no YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. There was no Google yet, all right? There were no text messages in 1995. You interact 1,000 times more with others today as you did then. And you know what? 20 years from today, your children will interact 1,000 times more with their friends and colleagues as you do today. It's unimaginable, but it's true. It's going to happen. They'll interact a lot with automated, stuff. Many of your children will use their own algorithms called apps to control who they interact with. There'll be a lot of social proofing and social sourcing. But you know what? The more we interact, the more trust we demand in others. Why? Because trust is what makes interactions efficient. If I can't trust somebody I'm interacting with, it's such a hassle. I have to check the facts. I have to call a lawyer. I have to do due diligence. It's so time-consuming. It's a hassle. I have no time to interact with people or companies that I don't trust. And interactions themselves generate transparency. The world is way more transparent than it used to be. Okay? If you try to cheat a customer, you'll be outed in a microsecond. And you'll be on YouTube as fast as United breaks guitars. Okay? That's what'll happen. You screw up today, the news is going to be permanent. You can't un-Google yourself. Once you're in the Google Book of Life, you're there. Or as one blogger put it a little more picturesquely, dude, you can't take something bad off the internet. That's like trying to take pee out of a swimming pool. Pee goes in the pool, you're not going to get it out. All you can do is add water, right? You add water if you want. So Martha Rogers and I think there's a new standard of trust that consumers are coming to hold businesses to. We call that extreme trust. In the e-social world, it's no longer enough simply to refrain from cheating and deceiving customers. Instead, customers expect you to be proactively trustworthy, to proactively watch out for their interests. Never underestimate the power of a good story. Self-organizing cultures tell themselves a story that inspires workers to want to provide a better customer experience. And a lot of times, the customers, the employees who want to provide this experience, because of the story they're told, because of the culture they belong to, they can overcome system problems, data problems, alignment issues, and other problems that plague large organizations. Let me tell you a story I heard from a marketing executive at Marriott. Wait a minute, go back here. Go back. A marketing executive at Marriott. Roger Dow was the president for marketing at Marriott, and he told me this story. He said that this was like 12 years ago, when customer databases were a lot more expensive than they are today. And he went to his IT people, and he said he wanted a database that would tell a desk clerk whether a particular customer in front of them had ever stayed at that particular Marriott hotel in the past. There are 435 Marriott hotels around the country. If you were to check in at this particular Marriott and you'd been there before at any time, I want my desk clerk to be able to say, welcome back. So the IT people say they went away and they thought about this for weeks, like they do. And they came back and they said, well, Mr. Dow, it's going to take $1.5 million. It's going to take 18 months, but we can get this done. We can get it done. And he just went ballistic. He said, wait, this is ridiculous. This is way, way too expensive. This is not rocket science. There's something very simple. You got to think of a different way to do it. And he said he went off on a business trip that very day. And in the evening, he was checking into a Marriott in Moline, Illinois. He'd actually been at this Marriott before. He'd stayed there about 5 or 6 years before. But they had redone the lobby. They redone the car entryway and the portico. And he was looking at it and admiring it. And as he went up to the check-in desk, the clerk looked him in the eye and said, welcome back, sir. He said, excuse me? I said, welcome back. You've been here before, haven't you? She said. And he said, yes, I have, young lady. I've been here before about 6 years ago. But you know what? I'm the president for marketing at this company, and my computer people are telling me it takes $1.5 million to do what you just did. So you better tell me how you did it. And she gets very intimidated. And she says, I'm sorry, so I didn't mean to offend you. But when you pulled your car up to the front door, when the bellman took your luggage, remember, he asked you if you stayed here before. You must have said yes, because when the bellman put your luggage down, he looks at me and he goes like that, and that means you stayed here before. So I say, welcome back. Welcome back to a very old-fashioned kind of marketing. One-to-one marketing, CRM, it's the kind of marketing we used to do before we had manufacturing and technology and so forth. It's one-to-one, face-to-face. That's the kind of marketing we all need to do. Thank you.